Why am I delivering a pie to my neighbor's house? I don't even like my neighbors. Or pie. This is so fucking stupid. So, here we are again, reviewing another book series based on another indie horror game franchise. For those of you who've been following my channel for a while, you know I've spent the last year of my life reviewing the Five Nights at Freddy's books, or Faz books as I call them, and I've had some, things to say about them. When I tackled the Faz books, I came from the perspective of a fan. I know the lore, I can hold my own in a conversation, I'm privy to all the memes and references. Having that knowledge base definitely helped. I know nothing about Hello Neighbor. I don't know the story, anything about the gameplay, the characters. I assume this is the neighbor. He has a real menacing mustache. He looks Hungarian. I bet his name's like Ludovic or something like that. Or maybe he's Italian. Giuseppe. I do know, however, that the games have a kind of bad reputation, despite the fact that they're my friend Sandwichly's absolute favorites. I'm also aware that TinyBuild, the company that published Hello Neighbor, cemented itself in the annals of memehood by tagging MatPat no less than 3 times, begging him to dissect their Hello Neighbor animated series. Truly a masterclass of quality and dignity we're dealing with here. And speaking of publishing, who's responsible for this book series? Oh, fuck. So, completely blind, crappy game franchise, and square in the sights of an old foe. This ought to be fun. The first Hello Neighbor book is called Missing Pieces. It stars a kid named Nicky Roth, the newest resident of Raven Brooks, an oddball town with oddball townsfolk, but none are as strange as his neighbors from across the street, the Petersons. While Nicky befriends their son, Aaron, he experiences Mr. Peterson's eccentric behavior firsthand, and comes to discover that the man is connected to a series of tragedies that have plagued the town's history. And tragedies that have yet to occur. The first thing I noticed in this book is that there's artwork. Nothing crazy, just little supporting pieces every dozen or so pages, messages written on scraps of notebook paper. The visual style's kinda goofy, but I recognize that's just the game's faux mid-20th century Art Deco aesthetic. There could have been an opportunity to go full bore on the artwork, but that's just a nitpick. All of which makes this Amazon review all the more amusing. There are no pictures. My granddaughter wanted pictures, was disappointed. Cynthia, why you gotta lie like that? But I'm gonna be real with you all now. This wasn't terrible. I wouldn't even call it bad. Our protagonist, Nicky, has a clearly defined voice, and the first-person present-tense POV really helps cement that. He does have this weird quirk, however, where he invokes the alien overlords in interjection, like he takes their name in vain or something like that. This isn't like a 1, 2, or 3 off thing either. He does this like 20 or 30 times throughout the text. I don't know if space aliens are part of the Hello Neighbor lore. I wouldn't be surprised if they were. But otherwise, this just comes off as a stop trying to make fetch happen kind of thing. The side characters are actually decent and tolerable. Compared to something like the FNAF Silver Eyes trilogy, they're given an appropriate amount of focus while not overwhelming the story. I never lost track of who is who, they all seem distinct, and again, I think the narration being heavily influenced by the protagonist's perspective really helped. That said though, this book is basically one giant setup for whatever's in store down the line. They introduce a lot of locations in the first 40 pages or so. The Petersons' house with its locked doors and constantly changing rooms is a level from the video game, even though I've never played the video game myself. And I'm willing to bet $100 that picking locks is a fundamental gameplay mechanic. Look at this, folks. The new kid that moves into town has an interest in lock picking, and his creepy neighbor from across the street, whose house is just begging to be broken into, has a lot of locks that need picking. Things work out perfectly. There's also an abandoned candy factory, the scorched remains of an amusement park, a freaking llama farm? I mean, come on, these all have to be locations from the game. But does that mean at one point you have to run away from Mr. Peterson on a llama? What I like about these mystery build-up series is the moments of mounting suspense when characters are piecing things together. Huh. I know why it's called Missing Pieces now. My favorite scene was when Nikki broke into Mr. Peterson's study. He learns the man's history designing amusement parks and how each of his creations have resulted in a progressively worse tragedy at each amusement park. And of course, the payoff comes near the end when he learns just how at his mercy the rest of his family is, and how connected they are to the death of a little girl that occurred at what was once the local amusement park. However, that doesn't change the fact that not much else happens in this book. We get instances of Mr. Peterson's instability, but he doesn't do anything truly villainous. A lot of the book is also dedicated to Nikki and Aaron's interactions, the pranks they pull, and the gradual falling out they endure. And that stuff's fine, but it just further goes to show how much of a setup this particular book is. But in the end, I was pleasantly surprised by Missing Pieces. If I had one word to describe it, it would be promising. Although it was mostly setup, if it can deliver on those promises and build on this level of quality throughout the rest of the books, then I'll be satisfied. Maybe I'll actually like it more than the Faz books. What a twist that would be. Also worth noting that being a prequel series probably helped, as the writers had the liberty to pursue narrative directions that didn't necessarily have to align with whatever story the main game presents. Harping on the Faz books again, I wish they had gone in a similar direction. I would kill for a prequel series about the Afton family in this vein. But yeah, I'm not regretting this so far, and with that we're moving on to the next book in the series, Waking Nightmare. I hope it's good. Or maybe it'll be garbage. Take care. See you all next time.